Greetings, peoples of the interwebs. Jake here, and so I just got back from the cinema, and I saw the new Fantastic Four film with Jordan, one of the co-hosts of the channel. Um, and the film exists. It's it's there, and it exists. Yeah, that's kind of how the movie is. Like, there's trying to think of a good place to start. Well, yeah, it's just, like, majority of that film, like, pretty much half of that film was all origin story. I don't care about the origin. No one cares about the origin. Stop. Like, okay. What they could have done, instead of spending, like, half that film all on the origin stuff that no one cares about, they could have just summarized that in, like, I don't know, like a paragraph. Like, they should have just already been established as the Fantastic Four, and they should have been like, hey guys, we're the Fantastic Four, and here's how we became superheroes. Flashback. Bam, there you go. Give them, give a flashback, quick little scene, how they got their powers, and then jump right back to present day. Bam, there you go. You don't have to waste countless, like, thousands of dollars on a budget to, film and edit how they got their powers and all that stuff. It's unnecessary. It really is. And I really, really wish, like, this film still wouldn't have been good, really, even if they had done that, but it would have been better, and I probably should turn my phone off when I record, but whatever. I'm very unprofessional. That's how we work in Pasty Bell Productions. But that would have been better if the film had spent so much less time, or this. If they had if they're gonna spend like half this film on the origin story, develop the characters, develop the actual characters who are in this film that are your main characters. There was little to no character development at all for any of the characters in this film. They kind of just all come together, and they're like, oh, let's go to a different dimension, hooray! And then they get their powers, and then that happens. Which, first off, I know it's been said a lot by practically everyone who's reviewed this film. The thing looks terrible. Like, I would have much preferred if they did the same thing as the first two Fantastic Four films, and they basically just put Jamie Bell, the actor who plays Ben Grimm in the Thing in this movie, they just put him in like a suit. Sure, it may not look as good. I mean, like, looking back to, like, the 2005 film, and the Rise of the Silver Surfer, sure, the suit looks kind of rubbery and obviously fake, but I prefer practical effects over CGI, and they were kind of like, who needs a guy in a suit? We'll just CGI the shit out of this. And it doesn't even look that great. Like, I guess the CGI itself is not horrible, but just the way the thing looks is not very good. And again with, like, and again, I know it's been said, but, like, Sue's hair. First off, yes, it changes, like, from scene to scene. It'll go from, like, before they go to the different dimension, they get their powers, she's kind of got, like, darker blonde hair, and then all of a sudden, I guess, with her powers, her hair gets lighter. But first off, like, why would that change her hair anyways, to begin with? Why would all of a sudden her hair get lighter just because, she got blasted by this interdimensional beam, ray, wave, whatever it is? Like, okay, I can accept the fact, it's weird, I can accept the fact that she gets her superpowers from it, but why would to change her hair. Seems kind of weird. Like a weird thing to do. Especially since the actress that plays is already blonde. Just keep her natural hair color. Instead of making it like really blonde. And then back to her natural hair color and then really blonde. Like, I get there is a lot of reshoots and editing, but how do you miss that? Like, when you're editing this movie? Like, how did the everyone involved in this film, like, how did they watch all this transpire and decide, yep, alright, yeah, this is a good finished product. We did good, guys. Let's wrap. And then put it in cinemas. Now, if they had fixed some of these minor problems, again, it would not have improved this movie much at all. But it's, you know, little things like that. Just her hair. Come on, you can't get that right. What the hell, guys? What the hell? It's just, I don't know. Like, there's so many things wrong with this film. Again, there's like no character development really. Like, Doctor Doom, one of the greatest Marvel villains, is reduced to, like, this emo guy who, I guess, is in love with Sue Storm, but she doesn't love him back. Not really explained that much. Like, you kind of just assume there's a history behind them. They don't really go into a lot of detail, because, again, lack of character development. And so he's kind of, like, just kind of emo and stuff. And then, you know, when he becomes Doom... yeah, he looks really shitty. Like, he just looks like a silver crash dummy with a cape and cowl, which, where did he get that, by the way, while he was on Planet Zero? Which, first off, Planet Zero is one of the most, like, that is such a generic, mediocre name for this new world, or whatever. I mean, they could have called it tons of different things, and, I don't know. I don't really know what they could have called it, but Planet Zero, what? Come on, come on, put a little bit more effort into it. But anyways, I know that's a weird thing to be fixated on, like, especially with all the other problems in this film, but again, it's some of the little things that, like, were kind of throwing me off. Like, by all means, have these, actually, don't by all means, what am I talking about? But, I don't know, it's like the little things you think they could at least do that right, but all of a sudden, like, he's been trapped on this planet for a year and is somehow still alive, and managed to get a cape. Where'd that come from? And he has no motivation really at all. Like, all of a sudden he's kind of like, oh, I guess I have to destroy your world, don't I? And then he's wreaking havoc. And just, yeah, like, what the hell is going on in this movie? Like, I know that there are a lot of problems, like studio interference, a lot of rewrites, a lot of reshoots and stuff like that. But it's still the fact that this film that came out is the final product. And basically, it got greenlit. Like, everyone, like, they showed a screening of this movie, and, like, when people were editing and just kind of watching as this movie was being made, they're like, yep, works for me. Put it out there to the world for all to see. What are they thinking? Like, here's what I think happened. I think maybe some of the, like, some of the writers, they were writing, like, a story for just, like, this, potentially cool sci-fi flick where, four scientists, they're trying to build this machine to unlock interplanetary or interdimensional, travel, and that could have been a cool movie. That could have been really cool. But then all of a sudden Fox is kind of like, oh, holy shit, you guys, I just realized our rights on the Fantastic Four are about to run out. We need to make a Fantastic Four movie, like, right now, before we, it's up for grabs and Marvel buys it from us. And they were like, oh, we don't have the time to write, like, a brand new story and, all this stuff for a new Fantastic Four movie. And they're like, well, what about those guys? Those guys were working on a movie, right? It's like, oh, yeah, it's about interplanetary, interdimensional travel. Not anymore, it's not. It's about the Fantastic Four. Insert names of the characters, and boom, there we go. We got our Fantastic Four reboot. Job accomplished. I'm going on vacation. don't bother me. That's how it feels like. It doesn't even feel like a superhero movie at all, which in a bad way as well. Like, because one thing that I liked about the Dark Knight trilogy is it didn't really feel like a Batman movie or a superhero movie. It was just a really good movie, like, or I guess a really good trilogy, and Batman just happened to be the lead actor. Or same thing with like Captain America: Winter Soldier. Really good movie, like a cool, really good spy espionage thriller, and Captain America just happened to be the main character, or the lead actor. You know, they had the superhero element, just kind of like sprinkled into the film. Um, like that's the way to do it. Like that's how you make, I guess, a good movie, and also like if you want to have, I don't know, but yeah, that's how it should have been instead of this movie that feels like something else, and they just inserted the names of the characters from the Fantastic Four in there. Um, like that's kind of what I feel like happened with this movie. Um, and you'd think that like after the first two Fantastic Four movies that they were okay. You know, they weren't horrible, but they were just okay. You'd think after that they'd kind of like, okay, so those films, all right, they weren't the worst thing, but what can we do to improve that with this reboot? You'd think they would have like rewatched those movies or something, or actually read the comics. I mean, I know this movie is kind of loosely inspired or based on like the Ultimate Universe. Maybe, I don't know. It didn't feel like it was based on anything really. Again, it just felt like a completely different movie with the names and characters of the Fantastic Four, and bam, they made this movie happen for whatever reason. But also, why reboot the Fantastic Four? Why make a movie, especially $100 million movie, like a blockbuster size budget, on a franchise that's irrelevant? It really is. No one really cares that much about the Fantastic Four anymore. And I'm not trying to like trash talk the Fantastic Four or anything. Obviously they've contributed a lot to not just Marvel, but the comic book world, universe in general. They were the first superhero team, and we wouldn't have like the Justice League or the Avengers or anything like that. If the Fantastic Four hadn't come along. They're a staple of Marvel, but somewhere along the lines they just became irrelevant. Aside from Doctor Doom, he's the one thing that kept them relevant. And if I don't know, if I were a studio and I found out that Marvel had canceled their the Fantastic Four comics. Now, granted, they mostly did that to try and hurt Fox, but it's still the fact that they were able to cancel it, and no one was really up in arms about it. You'd think someone at Fox would have seen that as a big red flag and be like, "Whoa, hold on, guys, maybe we shouldn't make this movie," because the fact that they canceled the comic series and no one really seemed to care that much. Why do we think this film will do well? I don't know. But again, Fox apparently has no clue what they're doing with their hero movies. They've just now started to like really make the X-Men good. But that's like what I was saying with Doctor Doom, though. Man, they really screwed him over. Like one of Marvel's coolest villains, and they gave him like maybe 10, 15 minutes tops of actual screen time as the villain, who again had no motivation at all. Just kind of showed up at the end because they needed a villain, because they spent way too much time on the origin and were like, oh, that's right, we need to add a villain or some kind of conflict or whatever. And they really screwed him over. The character and just everything in general. Like, he just looks really bad. They really screwed this movie over. They seem to not put much effort into it at all. But if I don't know, I guess I'll go ahead and start wrapping this up. 'Cause I don't really know what else to say. I'll probably just keep rambling on about why this movie wasn't very good. But I did do a separate video where I kind of just had have a theory on why the Fantastic Four films just can't seem to land financially, critically, or land very well with the fans. Like Fox Studios being complete morons aside, and some of the other problems like the reshoots and re-edits and all that stuff. Like all that stuff aside, there's I think a larger basis for the film's not going that well. So if you all are interested in that, feel free to check out my Fantastic Four theory video. And if you don't want to watch it, that's perfectly fine as well. And I will say this, I'm not going to be one of those people that just tells you to, outright avoid this film or anything like that, because sure, it's bad, but see it for yourself to kind of have an opinion so that way you're not just going on what I say. Why would you listen to me anyways? I have no, influence or authority over people. But, don't just listen to the critics, even though, yeah, the movie's not very good and pretty much all the critics were right. But again, if you want to have your own opinion on the film and you're not just going by, like, what I say or what critics say and all that stuff, go see it. Some people say it's okay. So you might be one of them if you go see it. Or you might be the majority and just say, no, this movie's not very good. Why did they bother? Just give the rights back to Marvel. So yeah, I'll end it on that. If yeah, like if you want to see it out of morbid curiosity or just to have an opinion, go see it. Or just wait till it comes out and you can rent it, or don't see it at all. It's completely up to you. And some of you are probably thinking, man, this is a really terrible review. It's kind of a bad movie, so what do you expect? But hopefully you enjoyed it. And if you did, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. So we're a growing channel. We're trying to get to 100 subscribers by the end of the year, so yeah, and if you don't like this video, feel free to check out some of the other videos on the channel, and hopefully you'll enjoy those. And if you do, again, like, comment, subscribe, share to your friends and family, other people who might find this entertaining. But that pretty much wraps this up, everybody. And again, hopefully you enjoyed this, but if not, whatever, to each their own. So, until next time, cheers.